What's going on, everybody, and welcome to our March Madness Bourbon Bracket Single Barrel Edition Championship round. We have Blanton's Gold versus Russell's Reserve CN-B. Let's remind the folks how we got here. Russell's Reserve CN-B took on Russell's Reserve CNA in the first round. It moved on against my Fiddler pick, which beat Michter's, and it did beat that as well. On the other side of our bracket, we had Stag taking on Old Forester 100. Stag obviously moved forward. It's a store pick. It's fantastic. That took on the Blanton's Gold, which beat our Nash Tucky, which was a Josh and Aaron pick, and that's how we ended up with our two champions. Today, we're going to find out who's going to be the number one champion, though, and there's only one way to do that. Pour these up and find out which one we like best, strictly on taste. Let's get to it. If you don't know how we do this, we have glass A over here. We have an A tag on here. We have an A under here. I can't see the A through here, so we pour this into here, and then we're going to mix the two of these up once I pour my other one, and we're not going to know which one's which, and then we're going to try them and pick our favorite, again, strictly off taste. Obviously, CNB is going to be in Glass B, so let's grab our Whiskey Wisdom wheel here and mix these up so we don't know which one's which. I don't want to knock these over. Good enough for me. I gotta be honest with you, this might be the first round where we don't truly know which one's which. We've had a lot of higher proofs versus lower proofs, so you can definitely tell either off color or proof. But for this one, 110 proof versus 103 proof, there's no guarantee we can tell which one's which. So let's try this out. Everybody knows it's time for the traditional sip. Cheers, y'all. Whatever that is, it's delicious. Now, this is my first sip of whiskey for the night, and I will say this drink's a little bit hot. A little bit hot for 110 or a little bit hot for 103, I'm not quite sure, but this does sip a little bit hotter than I remember either one of these really drinking. I definitely think that's because it's my first sip of whiskey for the night, and as we get deeper into these, they're both going to sip very easy. But let's get into glass number 2 here. Again, I don't know which one's which. You already know everything you need to know about these bottles, so let's try and get you some tasting notes. Very, very similar when it comes to the proof. So maybe this is 103 proof, drinking a little bit hot, and this is 110 proof, drinking not so hot, and they meet right in the middle there. But I gotta be honest with you, I don't know which one's which off the bat. I like it that way too. I don't like knowing which one's which, because at the end of the day, you're trying to be the least biased that you can when it comes to something like this, when you're doing it blind. That's the whole reason to do it. But for this one, can't guarantee I know which one's which. I'm gonna try and figure out if I can pick out Wild Turkey over Buffalo Trace, and hopefully we can figure that out. Or hopefully not. Hopefully we can't figure it out and we just strictly go off which one we like the best, because that's obviously the way that we should be doing this. I will say this, though. This one drinks pretty easy. I get almost similar. They're definitely not the same, right? Drinking them side by side, they're not the same. But there are a few notes that I feel like I'm picking up on each one of these, including like an orange note, which kind of sticks out on these. I definitely get the vanillas, the caramels. I feel like I get a little bit more toffee over here. And again, this might just be my mind playing tricks on me, but we always get toffee when it comes to the Russell's Reserve. And I feel like I do get a little bit of toffee. I'm not getting a Band-Aid note on either one of these, which I usually get on Buffalo Trace, but that's all good signs, meaning I don't know which one's which, so we got to keep going. There's like a slight vanilla ice cream note on this. I work at an ice cream store, so I can speak on this, and I did have some vanilla ice cream tonight. Maybe that's throwing off my palate, but that was a very long time ago. I will say there's a very slight vanilla ice cream note on this. Sugary, a little bit of dried fruit on this as well. That orange note does stick out. The mouthfeel on this is fantastic. Again, no matter if this is 110 proof or 103 proof, it drinks pretty well. I will say compared to the other glass, though, it is a little bit hotter, but nothing overwhelming, nothing crazy exceptional. I will say there's a solid oak presence on this as well that's kind of lacking for this one. Now, as you know, I don't always love an oak presence, so if it's there and it's good, I don't mind it. If it's not there, I'm not truly missing it. I don't know there's no real, I mean, this has an age statement, 10 years, but there's no age statement on this. I think it's in that like 7 to 8 year, but correct me if I'm wrong on that. Let me know, but neither one of these are drinking like, this is definitely 10 years, and this one's only 8 years, but I will say, this does seem to have a little bit more of an age note to it, which kind of makes me lean towards that Russell's. Again, I get those vanillas, those caramels. This one's almost like a burnt caramel, where this is more like of your traditional caramel flavor. Again, everything over here just seems to be accentuated more towards that like char, that oak, a little bit more of that compared to this one over here. Not like it's overwhelming the glass or anything like that, but when you compare two glasses that, again, are somewhat similar, you definitely start to pick out the nuances between them. I get a little bit more orange on this one than I do on this one, and I get a little bit more of that age, that oak, a little bit of tobacco, some chocolate over here. Nothing bad about that, but it's definitely not something that I'm usually looking for when it comes to my whiskey. I will say this, the flavor profile on both of these is phenomenal. I love both of these flavor profiles. Again, I want to clarify what I said in my last statement there. Just because it has those flavor profiles and it's not what I normally love, doesn't mean that either Russell's Reserve or Blanton's Gold made it this far on that flavor profile without being good. I still do love what I'm drinking in this glass. I also think that this particular glass over here gives me more flavors. It seems a little less watered down. Again, neither one of these seems watered down, but compared to the other one, this glass over here seems a little bit lighter, a little bit softer, which was a word that I used for the Blanton's Gold in the last video. Check that out. I'll link it above. We're getting dangerously low on the amount of whiskey that we have in each of these glasses, which means we're going to have to make a decision soon. And one, I don't know which one's which I do love. But two, I don't know which one I like better. And I don't know if I love that or hate that either. I thought, personally, Russell's Reserve was going to come out and kill this. I'm a Russell's Reserve fanatic. I loved this since the beginning. It didn't struggle against any bottle for me. The Blanton's Gold definitely proved itself, beating out Stag. I think the Stag kind of killed itself with the heat compared to something like Blanton's Gold. But I will say both of these glasses are phenomenal. The question is, which one do we like better? And I don't have that answer at all. See, this is weird. Now, this one over here dries out my tongue just a little bit more. So I feel like I'm getting more of those age taste profiles on this. A little bit of that chocolate, that leather, that tobacco that we talked about. But for this one, I'm getting more of those tannins, that dryness on the tongue, which I don't like, especially when it comes to a bourbon. I don't like something that dries out my mouth. It seems a little bit softer, and mouthfeel-wise, they both coat the mouth. This one's a little bit more oily, a little bit more, again, not as viscous. This one seems a little bit more thick. It doesn't have a syrup flavor profile to it, but as far as the viscosity goes, a little bit more syrupy on this side. So again, both of them have their pros, both of them have their cons, especially up against each other. We've got a little bit left. I'm not going to keep you long today. We're going to finish these up and we're going to make a decision. I mean, that glass is just so damn good. At this point, they're in the championship round. They deserve to be here. So I do have to nitpick and find things that I don't quote unquote like about the glass compared to the other glass. So don't think that I'm like crapping on either one of these whiskeys. They're both phenomenal whiskeys. I just have to find something that I don't like about it so I can pick which one I do like better because quite frankly, they're both so damn good. I mean, let's recap real quick. We've got vanilla, we've got orange, we've got like that ice creamy feel. We've got a great mouthfeel on this, viscosity on this. You get the brown sugar, you get that toffee note, which makes me lean towards this over here. And then the thing that I got on the very tail end of this, which people have been talking about with Russell's Reserve CN-Bs specifically for a very long time in my Discord, and I might just be making this up in my own mind because I think this is the CN-B, is that cola, that fizzy note that people talk about. That was the first time I ever got it, and it was on the very last sip. But let's talk about what we get over here. I already said it earlier in this, but it's a little bit soft. It's a little bit tame, especially compared to this glass over here. I get the vanillas, the caramels. You get that brown sugar note on this. You get a little bit of that vanilla when it comes to the ice cream, but then you get that tannins, that dryness on the back of the tongue. It's very oily. It coats the entire mouth. And the last thing that I picked up on that last sip was just a little slight bit of honey, which we talked about before with the Blanton's Gold. So I either nailed this on the head or I'm completely off on this. But now, knowing everything we know about it, we still have to pick a winner. And that's going to be, drum roll please. That was a terrible drum roll. I'll add it post, but it is going to be this glass over here. And I got to be honest with you. I think it's the Russell's Reserve, but I can't be sure. And there's only one way to find out. Let's flip it over right now. I think there's a little bit left. Let's finish it off. And the answer is B, ladies and gentlemen. B is going to be our winner. Listen, Blanton's Gold, phenomenal glass. If you have an opportunity to pick this up around MSRP, definitely pick this up. But Russell's Reserve is going to be our champion, and that's the second time that a Russell's Reserve has won March Madness. Listen, shout out to CN-B. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I will say this Blanton surprised me. They beat Nash Tucky. People weren't expecting that. They beat Stag Store Pick at 136.4 proof. People were not expecting that. The one thing about this that I didn't realize is obviously they have the 93 proof, they have 103 proof, and then they have the straight from the barrel, which I haven't had an opportunity to try yet, but it's one of the few expressions that I know has 3 different proof points with the same whiskey in it. Now, obviously it's a single barrel, so it's not exactly the same, but I think more companies should allow you to try their whiskey at different proof points to kind of hone in on what's best for you. I just posted a video the other day on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Make sure you check us out on all 3 platforms, which talks about what's your favorite proof. Maybe it's 110, maybe it's 100, maybe it's 125, but maybe it's something different when it comes to the same expression. Maybe you love Russell's Reserve at 110, but you love Blanton's at 103. And the fact that Blanton's allows you to try all of them is something that I truly enjoy. That being said, CN-B here is an obvious banger. Again, I pick up every single one of these that I see coming out of Russell's Reserve. I haven't had a single barrel from their single barrel programs yet that I haven't enjoyed. And I hope one day to become big enough to actually pick my own single barrel. That's my dream. Maybe you can make it happen. Maybe Jimmy or Eddie Russell is watching this and you can get me out there, but I would love that. But in the meantime, please don't drink and drive. Always drink responsibly. Stay healthy, stay happy, and try everything coming out of Russell's Reserve. Check us out on Instagram and Patreon, Discord, all 3 of those links in the description below. Thank you for joining us on March Madness. We appreciate you guys as always. Keep up the support. Let's hope we keep this thing going, and I'll see you next year. Cheers. Don't wait till next year, though. Go check out the next video.